We are live, and one of these days, I will get better at figuring out where exactly I want to have my face looking when we do this, but this is not one of those days. So, just pushed live the episode with Colin Mitchell. If you've not checked out episode, I think we're at 344 at this point, check it out. Awesome conversation. We talked about podcasting, we talked about raising kids, we talked about impact on sales. We talked about how that how you can um, how you can test inside an organization to determine if what they're saying in the interview process is actually true. What are some of the ways that you can test and fact check uh, companies when you're interviewing? Design for experience, taking care of self, going too fast in the context of kids growing up, and and a little bit of meditation and mindfulness. So a pretty broad range of conversation. I think one of the things I'd like to break down a little bit more is or are the lessons that you learn when you create a podcast and how those apply, how the skills that you gain from podcasting can apply to business, life, and sales. Um, Colin shared the story about how his wife called him out and said, "Look, you are not a very good listener." And, um, I think I've been a pretty good listener over time. And I know I'm talking now about me and not Colin, but, you know, listening with intent, asking questions, relative to the information that was shared, validating and understanding around information. These are all things that are really important to us when we communicate with others, both inside our family and inside our jobs, and communicate with customers. So podcasting can really help you with that because when you're interviewing a guest, you start to see the difference between showing up to an interview with a list of questions that are aligned with your agenda and how you want to design for the whole experience versus uh, asking questions based on the information that's shared with you during the process of the conversation. So, one of the skills that you can learn from podcasting is to be a better listener. Another skill that I've learned through podcasting is getting better at asking questions. How can I, and I still do this from time to time. So sometimes I'm not as good as I'd like to be at some point in time. There's always an opportunity to improve. But how can I ask a question without leading the witness? How can I ask a question that is super simple that prompts a response that gives me some other content to go a bit deeper on? How do I stick with basic questions like how and what and where, and some of them are really really short questions. I think one of those one of the questions I asked Colin in the podcast episode, as we go back to that, was how did that make you feel when his wife gave him feedback? I wouldn't have been able to ask that question if I wasn't actually listening to the pieces of information that he was giving me. So podcasting has helped me get better at asking questions, formulating questions, and kind of helping to build story around some of those questions. There's always a plan in the podcast. No matter who comes on the podcast, there's always a plan. There's an arc that we want to go through, or that I'd like us to go through. One part of the arc is an understanding of, I don't know, what they do that really gets them excited. What's their area of expertise? And I don't usually say, so what's your area of expertise? What gets you excited about the work you do? Like, that's the kind of question I think anybody could ask. But as we start going into the conversation, some of that stuff starts to pull out, and then you can go a little bit deeper into some of the things that were discussed. Today, I recorded with Lou Mangello, and that's for an upcoming podcast. Cassie had made an introduction there, and I've been a Lou fan since 2008, the first year we took the kids to Disney World. And Lou's got WDW Radio. He's got his own business where he helps people build the life that they want to build. It was awesome to have a conversation with him. And I told him before we recorded that, had we done this a number of years ago, I probably would have been fanboying out on it. The key piece here is when you're engaging with others, if you take a deep interest in understanding them, listening to what they have to share, you can build your questions to go even a level or two deeper. And that's where the magic is. I've typically talked about this in the context of discovery and taking a journalist approach to discovery, putting on your Lois Lane hat, being the person who goes to the root cause of the story, behind the story, not just accepting that thing on the front end. Podcasting can help you get better at doing that kind of stuff. So it helps you be a better listener, helps you be better at asking questions. And the third area that podcast has helped me, and this is a mistake that I made early on, I think we over edited the podcast way back when. And that's one of the cool things about doing the live podcast. One of the things I'm working on is standing a little bit further away from the microphone, but still getting my voice out there. I don't know how well I'm doing it. I hear my breath. It drives me nuts. I'm probably oversensitive to it. Well, when my allergies are getting really bad, I become really sensitive to it. So I'm trying to get better at where I'm positioned with the microphone so that you don't have to hear me breathing. I need to breathe though, because if I stop breathing, you're going to see some stuff live that you probably don't want to see live. And then so hopefully one of you will call the paramedics. There, had we not edited as much in the podcast early on, I think I would have been more aware of some of the challenges I had when recording content. And those became more aware or more evident to me, when I started doing some of the videos, like the Marion Bright videos or recording the videos for the courses. I realized how much heavy breathing I'm doing as we're going through the course. And I'm even conscious of it right now, which means I might end up passing out. So by over editing the podcast, I actually stifled my growth relative to creating the content. So better listener, better at asking questions, and better at being aware of opportunities to get better by reducing the editing. And that's one of the things we're working on, is reducing a little bit of the editing. And we don't edit a lot. Jody and Jody's team take care of the editing on the primary feed of the podcast. And you can get the primary feed both here on YouTube. You can get it on Spotify. You can get it pretty much anywhere you want to listen to a podcast. That's the audio only version. One of the things I am going to start testing is putting a video version out of the podcast within the first day or two that we record the content and see what happens there. So a couple of things that you can learn from podcasting that apply to business, life, and sales. Better communication with your family, because you'll be a better listener. I can get better at not asking so many direct questions of my family when engaged. And I think getting better at being comfortable with the idea of we don't need to edit things as much as we might think we need to edit. I think the last one I'd wrap up is being more succinct with communication. Here's Murphy. Murphy is going to join us tomorrow for a Tactical Tuesday with Murphy. He'll be on here. Let me know in the comments, what's a good time to go live? I think I'm going to go live early in the morning, but I'm not sure just yet. Today we're a little bit late. It's about 7:30 Eastern. Let me know in the comments what a good time is to go live. Let me know what you think about these live podcast episodes, the short ones. They're between 5 and 10 minutes. And I'd love to hear what kind of questions you want me to get into tomorrow. On Wednesday, as we get into it, I am going to go pretty deep on comp plans and how you build comp plans to drive certain behavior, positively reinforce certain behavior. How do we simplify the way that we approach comp plans? Tomorrow's Tactical Tuesday. Wednesday will be Whiteboard Wednesday. And today, as is every Monday, we announce the launching of the podcast for the week. Please keep those questions coming. Let me know in the comments. And thank you for sharing this with someone you think would find value out of it. Hope you have an awesome day as I figure out how to end this stream. Thank you.